Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Elevate with C&M Coaching. My name's Maggie. Thank you so much for joining us here today. So, because it's the week of Christmas, we're going to be doing one podcast this week. The example call that I have for you today is very shocking. I can't even fake this one and pretend like it's going to be great. The entire conversation is shocking. I think it's really important to draw attention to these types of calls, and probably next week, since we've got a new year and we want to start the new year off right, we'll play a good call. This example I have for you today is not a good call, but what it is an example of is what we hear 90% of the time when we do a sample call into the dealership where staff has not been properly trained. When you hear this call, you will notice that it seems like this person does absolutely everything the opposite of what they should be doing. And I'd like to draw attention to these types of things, especially for salespeople that are sitting there day in and day out taking phone calls, and they might be struggling a little bit with their skills. I'm going to tell you firsthand, if you're a salesperson listening to this, don't handle your phone calls this way. There is a better way. There is an easier way. There is a good way for you to establish a relationship with your customer. We call it rapport building. And to help you determine if you can help this customer and help them, meet their financial goals. If you're an independent dealer and you work for a subprime lender or a buy here, pay here store, it's all about financing. It's all about making sure that we can help this customer. Now, this call is from an independent dealer. It is a buy here, pay here dealership. It is an inbound call. As I said earlier, it is super, super common. And I don't want you to listen to this call and think, oh my gosh, that's horrible. That could never happen at my store, because it can, and it is, and it will. And the best way for you to figure out if it's happening is just contact us. We'll do a mystery shop for you, and we will play you your own audio file. If you're a salesperson, pay careful attention to the free coaching and the free advice and the free training we provide in this example, because you should be able to convert your leads into customers as long as you don't make the same mistakes that she does. So let's check out this call.
This is how can I help you?
So the greeting is acceptable. It could be a little bit better. I would like to hear an opening in there, such as good morning, good afternoon, or thank you for calling.
Hi, I saw a Chevy Cruze on your website. I was wondering if it was still there. Is there someone I can talk to about it?
The red one?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's still here, baby.
So I have two comments here. Number one, she clearly sounds like she's eating, and you should not be eating or chewing when you answer the phone. Even if you love gum and you want fresh breath, you shouldn't be chewing while you're answering the phone. Number two, don't call another woman baby. Stay away from things like honey, baby, sugar. I've even had people say things like mommy. It's just not appropriate, especially from one woman to another who doesn't know the other person. It just makes it seem a little bit like when they say, yeah, it's still here, baby, as though I'm some sort of child or adolescent. I'm a grown woman. It's just not something I would ever recommend. Adding in terms of endearment to somebody you're trying to sell something to does not help add rapport. So don't sprinkle these things into your conversation. It's just not professional. So what she should have done instead was say, which vehicle is it that you were looking at? Oh, the red one? That's an excellent choice. It's been popular. Let me make sure I've got it. What's the best number for me to reach you on? Home or cell? Great. And that number is? Perfect. And how do I spell your last name? Awesome. And your first name is? Then once she has that information, if, she's at a new car store, she can ask me if I'm open to alternate vehicles. If it's a buy here, pay here store, she should go through her basic minimum requirements with me. So do you have proof of income? Awesome. Where do you work? Great. How long have you been on your job? What's your monthly take-home pay? Do you have a valid driver's license? Excellent. Now you got a piece of mail you can bring in to prove your residency. Perfect. Everything sounds really great so far, so as long as it matches up when you get here, I think you're going to be a good fit for our program. So when are you more available to come in and see what we can do to help you out? We've got time right now or later today. We are open till 6. Offer an appointment with authority, choices, and stay in control of the conversation. Let's see what she does next.
Is it? Okay, great. How late are you guys open?
Till 5:30.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, ma'am. Thank you.
Bye.
Do you think she would have given me their business hours if I hadn't asked? What if I would have said, okay, thank you? She probably would have said, sure, no problem, have a nice day, without asking one bit of other information. By the way, ma'am is a totally acceptable word to use. It's not, a term of endearment. It's way more appropriate than honey or sweetie or mommy. But she put literally no effort into this conversation at all. And this is a serious problem. Like I said before, I am not joking when I tell you this is a really common problem and it's happening everywhere. Even sometimes I can talk to an owner in a dealership and they'll say, well, I only want to train my new people. I've got these veterans. They've been selling cars for 20 years. They're awesome. They sell 30 cars a month by themselves. And we will mystery shop them. And this is how it will sound. Of course, there are times that we actually get a veteran that has been trained and really takes a lot of pride in their phone calls and does an amazing job. It actually happened very recently with a sample I did from the NABD show that we were at. When I called the dealer to kind of explain what we had found, it was actually a really good call. It was only one or two small things that they had missed. Most people aren't actually paying attention to what their sales calls sound like. Selling a car in person and handling a phone call are not the same thing. And I've said that before many, many, many times. You cannot treat them as though they're the same. The same skills don't work. You can't see their face. There's no body language. But the biggest issue I have with this call is if you take into consideration the amount of money that was spent to make the phone ring this one time, and then consider what she did with this opportunity. A sales opportunity, a chance to sell a car, a viable customer potentially. We don't know because we didn't ask enough information. If you don't have contact information, you can't call the customer back. And you can't and should not take the information from their caller ID without their permission. Trust me, that will cause issues. If they say, oh, can you see what number I'm calling from? That's fine. But don't take it without their permission. So how do we make this phone call better? Think about rapport building. Think about what makes your dealership unique or different. If your dealership is in a city and you have big store competitors, chain competitors that help customers with challenged credit, you need to have something to offer your customer that's better than what they're going to get there, whether that be a warranty or top-notch customer service. Something has to be better for them to want to purchase from us. And we need to make sure that we're really attempting to have a solid conversation that engages with your customer. This specific sales call was so short. It was under 20 seconds long. This was an internet lead that I submitted to a dealership. Days went by without a phone call, so we contacted them after 6 days of waiting for a response from our initial internet lead. And this is what we received. This was our only communication with the dealership after the initial submission, and then, like I said, those 6 days went by. We didn't receive any follow-up calls after this, of course, because it's going to be very impossible for them to follow up with someone when they're not asking for info. But this just goes to show you that you want to be very careful when you're handling your own leads. Make sure that you're putting enough substance into your conversation that your customer feels like they had a conversation. Ask for contact info so you can follow up with your customers. And then follow up with them. She didn't offer an appointment, so of course we didn't come in. And there were no text messages sent with her information. She did give her name at the beginning of her greeting. In fact, if you listen to the greeting, you think it might be a really good call and it's going to go somewhere, but it just ends with her answering my questions and letting me go. Something else I want to address that happens quite frequently when I play these calls is I'll hear from an owner or a manager, well, she's just our title clerk, as though that's some sort of valid reason for this person to not have better phone skills. If she's your title clerk, but she's answering the phone, should she not be trained how to do this properly? Does it not still cost you money regardless of who answers the phone for you to make that phone ring from that one lead? It doesn't matter what the person's role at the dealership is. If they're going to be talking to your customers about sales, they need to be trained. Trust me, it benefits everyone. If everyone who answers the phone has polished phone skills. Remember what we talked about last week with our reputation with decline calls? Well, the same thing applies if everyone at your store has amazing phone skills and amazing customer service. That only improves your reputation within your community, which benefits everyone who works at the dealership. Thank you so much for joining us here on this episode of Elevate with C&M Coaching. I hope you have an amazing holiday. I will be back next week with a positive call for you guys so that we can end this year on a high note and start next year on an even better note. I hope you enjoyed this call of the week. Have a great day.